matchup in the game you can put into it right now. Azir first pick, that should be an easy lock-in. Question is, what's the response from the other side? You could lock in something like, okay, no, Varus, out the window. Bot lane's the focus. Azir's the easy lock-in now. What do you put in with that?
Yep, the Azir is definitely the easy lock-in here for Scout, and maybe go for a jungle as well, or maybe even a top lane, go for the Cassante, maybe just lock in your solo laner, saying, cool, if you want your bot lane, we'll take the solos, and we'll try and just work it from there. So, as you mentioned, the Azir locked and loaded here, and then, I mean, this is a Cassante, I could see Zika taking this as well. Yeah, there you go, solo laner's locked.
Okay, right, so JDG have shown that they're happy playing the Varus with the Nautilus against the Milio, but you don't know that the Milio is being locked in right now. So do you potentially allow a Milio lane to come in on 3 from LNG? I don't think that's likely for them actually, given the amount of 80 carry bans that would hit the next round of the rotation. Are they locking in support now, or are they saving it for counterpick? I reckon you lock in mid, the Slayer's fine. I think you could lock in maybe in something like the Vi as well if you really wanted. This has slipped through the ban phase. This has been very high priority, though. Okay, that changes the equation, because normally what you want to do is save support counterpick if you were going to be like, okay, let's lock in the Nautilus into the Milio later on. It's not possible once you've got the second round bans coming through. Varus, Ashe, though, this is level 1 Exodia of 2v2s. So LNG, they're now going to have to play against the strongest level 1 bot lane on the patch, with multiple bans heading around from the second round ban phase. That's going to be something that's going to trouble them coming into this. Absolutely.
And the thing is, like, you might look at this rel and go, it's a bit of a flex. You can go to WeiWei, go to Mark. Absolutely, completely agree. However, you don't need to focus in on the supports here if you're JDG. You could just focus the 80 carries, get rid of the Aphelios, get rid of even the Caitlyn, to be perfectly honest. Things that can have a long range and deal like semi-decently with this Varus Ashe combination. So curious to see where they go. LNG, they're focusing on the jungle.
I almost wonder if you could look towards a Karma lane towards bot lane if you want to survive there as LNG. Karma is pretty strong nowadays. Of course, hasn't had all of the buffs coming through because we're still on 14.1b, but still something to be considered. They're locking away the Nautilus, that's fine. One of the ways you deal with this squishy double range things is just by continually all-inning. I think Blitzcrank could also be an okay ban here as well. Look towards something like a Blitzcrank plus a Draven or a Aphelios or something like that to have real kill threat. That would make a lot of sense.
Right now, just taking away some of the more engage-heavy options. Poppy, of course, not going to be available as they have plenty of dashes and movements they want to try and stop. The Maokai, of course, not seen in the last game, but will get banned away in this one. JDG, do you look for another support ban, or do you try and get rid of maybe the Aphelios? Add in a 5th 80 carry to go for it. No, the Leona. Interesting. Okay, so they're kind of saying, look, Mark, we believe you're going to be a little bit struggling here on things that aren't hard engaged, so we're just going to get rid of any option we feel could be a good pick for you.
Right, are they looking for survival or all-in? Gala has played this before. It's the Draven locked in. So you still have the jungle support flex between the Rel. Draven Rel is probably going to get hard blasted by the Varus Ashe early levels. You can really try and flip it early with something like a Pike or a Blitzcrank, but even then that's very risky too. By locking in the Draven, you have signified that you want to fight. What is best for the composition, but also good for the lane here left for the LNG? I think it has to be a hook support.
It's good for the Goose, is good for the Gander. We'll see what they want to try and go with. The Xin Zhao there, just a little bit of engage / disengage, and LNG, they're going all in. They're saying, we are fighting, we are looking for a hook champion on this particular one. I mean, the Pike could be cool, but I think I prefer the Blitzcrank.
Either one plays a similar sort of role, but which one's better for the composition? I don't love the idea of playing a Pike into this kind of composition. You get hit by the Ashe ult in mid-game, you get absolutely blasted.
They don't care.
They're locking it anyway. This is now hyper early game. Trying to maybe pick off someone like the Talir from mid lane as well. There's a potential that if Yagao over pushes, Mark can get a free time to roam and combo onto a play made by Scout, who is on his Azir. Top side of the map, Flandre very happy to take the Aatrox into the Cassante. We know that. We don't have to talk about that too much. And Kanavi back on the Xin Zhao for something a little more aggressive in the early game, though. But it is all about this bot lane. First kills, first levels, so important between these 2v2s. Gold generation in spades between Draven passive and the Pike ultimate as well when that's locked in. This also means that plenty of other things come onto the table too. Very squishy bot lanes, which in mid-game can get picked off very easily. Vision control comes into that. The way that you rotate around your jungle support comes into the limelight as well. Lots of very slim margins of errors to play around. Very high damage, very squishy, very snowbally champions.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It feels like this bot lane is just already teetered on the edge of a knife to kind of say, all right, if someone messes up, it's going to be punished so hard. From either side, really. Yes, the Pyke Draven, an exceptionally powerful, damage-heavy bot lane, but the Ashe Varus could just, if you mess up your combination, if you mess up your ult or your engage, they'll just run you down. There's nothing you can do about it. You'll have constant slows, you'll have constant auto attacks and volleys being kind of thrown your way. But it is just going to be so difficult for either side if they get behind to really drag themselves back in.
Now Pyke, one of the bonuses you get with this champion, you do run Halo Blades with it yourself. You could have gone to imagine it's double Halo Blades coming out from the Varus Ashe as well. Very, very strong at that level 1 mark. Keep your eyes on bot lane. In fact, keep your eyes exactly where every single member is stacked.
The crash down comes in, and there's going to be the first blood. Flandre is ticking down. He gets healed, so he won't fall. Nobody dies. How does he get away with that now? You have to be so careful here as LNG. You can't really go forward. They go forward anyway. They're going to look for it. Draven gets himself a little bit of an early lead. And that's first blood to LNG. Both these teams looking for an advantage, and it's LNG who come out trumps.
Oh my gosh. Absolute bloodbath at level 1. Only the 1 kill, but the HP bars were shredded back and forth. 2 hooks from Mark. Put out the last time which he played it was, of course, played the Pyke was last summer against WeiWei. He played it twice last summer. In fact, all 4 of his Pyke games were last year. 2 hooks at level 1, making the difference. Both teams understood the pressure that can come out with something like the Varus Ashe walking into lane, maybe wrapping around bot side. You need to look for these level 1s, don't get me wrong, but this is really quite disrespectful from JDG to stick around after the hook cooldown comes back up. That's the mistake for me. You survived the first one. Why keep around for the second?
Yeah, I feel like you just let the rotation of cooldowns come round, and then you were just left with nothing else to do. So you've lost several flashes. Even lost a kill there as well, as it was Yagao to go down. But Draven getting that is not an opportune moment. And oh my god, just the double Halo Blades. You thought it would be double Halo Blades on the side of both JDG and LNG, but it's just LNG. You actually have pressed the attack here for Ruler. And LNG, they are making money from this. Sorry, yes, not press the attack.
Yeah, it's a lethal tempo from Ruler, which means it's the on-hit. Either way, it's still strong level 1 room. I was just wondering if we were going to get ourselves the double poke. It would have made sense with, you know, the poke Varus being pretty good versus the Azir later into the game as well. Poke Varus always been good versus that champion. But this is one of the issues with giving over the 400 gold first blood to Gala. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have any stacks built up to get that cash in. He enters lane with 2 more pots and a longsword up as well. He is so happy to walk in there and say, okay, I can brawl now because the level 1, I have the extra stats to make up the difference between the two 2v2s. Normally, Varus Ashe is... they win so hard in level 1, but it's still something which can flip a bit. You have to play it well still, which is why it doesn't always work in something like solo queue. Does absolutely get flipped on his head though with the extra stats, and suddenly Gala and Mark, this bot lane which needs to snowball, they're on the way to it.
They've got the snowball started. They're forming it in their hands and seeing if they can maybe throw that down the mountain. WeiWei will be spotted out here, so shouldn't be able to get much else out of this. As you can see now, Zika just forcing Flandre right underneath the turret and just dodging away from him so expertly. Not going to be able to get a plate this early on in the game, but just very, very nicely done to see how well you can just manage that lane, really.
WeiWei's here with Hex Flash.
It's still a bit far away, if you do ask me, so even with a flash available to Ruler, it was a stretch, to say the least, and Kanavi, knowing that WeiWei was on the bot side, was very ready for anyone to look for any shenanigans, but they're still sitting here. This is still a 3v3. Neither of the solo laners have moved just yet, and they're actually on a recall.
So Kanavi's just looking to protect the crash from Ruler and Missing, knowing that there's a flash on Pyke, which means that he could go for a flash stun with the undertow as well. He's looking for it now, and Kanavi's not stayed long enough.
Yeah, but now they might look for a re-engage, because you've already used everything to try and get on top of Missing. Gala, no mana. Still has flash, will have cleanse up in a second. He had to flash away because they've got these auto attacks coming in, and you've no flash on WeiWei, and he's gonna go down. Kanavi equals back up the kills. Draven will just about get out alive, but this is LNG. They just kind of stayed a little bit too much. They looked for a little bit too much.
Okay, but Mark's still here with a hook. He's getting the stun on Yagao. He still has no flash from level 1, and he goes down to scout.
Yeah, and Kanavi might be burning a flash onto Scout here if he can get the knock up, but Scout very disciplined on the trigger, won't be caught out by that. And this is a much more fun early game than we've had for a lot of the LPL this split. We're getting a lot more action, and I'm here for it, Nymera.
Who could believe that Varus Ashe versus Draven Pike could be a really nasty level 1 in early game? Almost like we told that right away from draft. It is exactly as it is on the paper. Both of these teams know they have to snowball, and in true LPL fashion, instead of trying to keep hands away and saying, "Ooh, I don't want it to snowball against me," it is all in on the bot side of the map to see what they can get for itself. Somehow JDG have managed to claw back something in this bot side from a disastrous level 1. At the start of this, I thought, okay, Kanavi's separated from his bot lane. It's very, very dangerous. But then as soon as Missing gets out of this play, things get really difficult. This is the other thing about the Ashe support. Gets a 3-man volley there. Gets continual auto-attacks. The slow from the Ashe is significant at these early levels when you're trying to disengage and run away. The double range is so hard to escape from.
Yagao's dead. He will die. And that is a surety in this world. WeiWei will poke him with the big old lance. And that will be the end of that. And lost his flash again, pretty much off cooldown. So Yagao not having a good time here.
He has a death every 2 minutes. He's 0 and 3.
Yeah.
He has a death every 2 minutes.
Honestly,
he had
it's impressive on its own.
A pretty crap game 1, don't get me wrong. But game 2 looked pretty good again. The Azir was awesome. This has not been the game for Yagao so far. He's had some on and off moments. I know historically he used to have that in previous iterations of JDG. But we were really hoping that he could see this out for his team. It looked like they woke up in game number 2. Can they see it through in this game number 3, even with that mid lane deficit? Scout with gold is pretty terrifying. It's pretty simple, right? Loses the flash, but the flash is still there from Scout, who has the discipline to hold on to it and shuffle him back into WeiWei. JDG still have bot lane priority for this first Dragon of the game, and with Yagao returning back to the lane after that untimely death, we'll be able to return and assist that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Yagao got rulered, unfortunately. No, I'm not making that a thing. I'm not going to force for that, but
I mean, said it like 3 times in the cast.
I know. I'm only memeing it, but I mean, honestly, it is becoming like you know, the move itself, regardless of what it's called, of waiting for that flash or even predicting the flash while you go for it, is becoming synonymous with good Azir players. It's almost becoming kind of the standard that you're willing to go for, and it's similar to when we say like you know, an insect Lee Sin kick and stuff like that, where it's like, this goes from literally god tier, can't believe he did that, to if you don't know how to do this, you're not good at the champion. So it really is kind of crazy how defining one moment in a game can be to the history of or even the standard of the game.
Yeah, there are definitely some moments where you're happy to just take a flash, don't get me wrong, but committing your own flash to it to guarantee the kill and the shuffle back is so important in some moments of this game, and particularly now with Yagao not even at Lost Chapter at this point. He's been shut down quite comprehensively in this early game, with, of course, Scout getting a lot of the lion's share from LNG instead. Like, have to really see if Scout can go and do what... So, Scout does this thing, by the way, we'll see it in the next couple of minutes, where once the first couple of fights start happening, he's the one which goes to a side lane on the strong side of the map with Nash's Tooth on his ear and gets a huge amount of resources from killing the outer turrets. If he gets that again, he's going to accelerate so much further forward than Yagao that LNG will have a massive DPS advantage if Scout can be in the right position. JDG need to be very aware of this Azir becoming a factor in this game.
Yeah, they need to be so very careful of where Scout is. How often does he roam off? How long has he been gone? These are things that you think should be commonplace for a professional player, but you sometimes get a long series like this, 3 games, even for someone like JDG, you've been traveling from Beijing to Suzhou, you have a little bit of time lapse, you know, you get a little bit tired, things, standards can slip a little bit. We have calmed down after our pretty good early game of 4 kills in a you know, kind of 6-minute time or a 7-minute kind of thing. We're kind of slowing down just a little bit. And congrats to Yagao. Hasn't given up a death so far, so he's slowly reducing the average of his deaths to time ratio. And we're very happy about that here.
It would be really hard to keep up a death every 2 minutes. Like, in a professional game, if you manage that, that's not good, folks. That's really quite not normal. He is going to go back to base and finally pick himself up the Lost Chapter to give himself some more mana sustain in lane to teleport back there. Getting towards our supports being able to move across the map too. Missing doesn't have his ult just yet. You see that the second grubs have spawned though. He hits 6 off of this wave, and arrow is available. Can Mark do the same on the pike? Get himself that death from below. That could be a huge, huge first ult of the game from LNG. If they get that extra golden pocket from Mark getting towards that, that would be a big injection of gold.
Well, WeiWei looking to contest, will do indeed. Eats the arrow and just tries to walk away from it. Flashes away from the seismic shove, but Zika walks into the line of fire as the 3 grubs get taken there. WeiWei trying to see if he can maybe bait Flandre a little bit further in, but nothing going there. TP from Scout to the top side, but it's JDG now starting to pick up the pace, gaining back the momentum.
Yeah, you're going to have to play for another 10 years to bait Flandre 2 forwards like that. Well, I say that. He's definitely been baited once or twice in his time. Flandre back on the roster after, well, back on a roster, rather, after, of course, being out of play for a year, taking a break with that. Of course, he's facing up against the mid laner he won Worlds with. We mentioned that just the other game, but Scout and Flandre, 2021 EDG World Champions. What a roster that was. Flandre was in such a weird spot with that, though. It wasn't his peak year of play. For those of you that, didn't watch back in the LPL back in 2015, 2016, he was such a big player back then. Scout's going to just about escape up here from that player. For Flandre, what a magnificent player he's had over his history of his 700 LPL games.
Yeah, and still growing with those games, still getting more, still getting even better.
It only gets larger.
It is. You know what? Funny thing is, it only goes up. You don't get any minus games, unfortunately, depending on how you remember them. But I mean, we'll see where they want to try and go. Flandre able to burn the flash off of Scout as well. So for the moment, no one's really too just happy with the way his game's gone down. Azir does pick up a Nashor's Tooth, and with the 2 kills going over onto Kanavi, he is starting to become a little bit of a mid-game threat. He has a 20 CS up on his counterpart as well. Yeah. And this is starting to become a bit of a problem. As you can see, Mark needs to be very careful with how far he gets, or how close he gets to this Xin Zhao.
Oh, Gala, you gotta be a little careful there, buddy. He has the cleanse and has to blow it.
Cleanse and flash burnt here by Gala, as Ruler wasn't even part of that. And this is the power of the Ashe. The Ashe just becomes such an obnoxious pick because you lose your cleanse and your flash, they're down for a couple of minutes. That Ashe arrow's already a quarter of the way done, and she's level 7.
And one of the sad things about that, I think that was a bit of a trying to be a predictive Captain Jack, because he thought the arrow would land. It doesn't, so the cleanse is actually blown for nothing. Mark on this pike, first ult of the game yet to be cast. He needs to really keep getting involved because this Ashe, as you said, is getting value where the pike is starting to stall out a little bit. And the later the game goes, the much less useful this champion gets.
Missing. Thinking about maybe going for Mark there. Mark and Gala now have to stay back into the spot side, but a Dragon now going back over to JDG. We've had an unholy amount of Chem Dragons spawned in this LPL Spring Split. And we are going to continue with that trend. The LCK get Cloud Souls, we get Chem Souls.
Yeah, I would kind of prefer the Cloud Souls at this point, buddy. Like, this soul is just not really the one which changes the game particularly. The Rift is more important than the Dragons itself, rather
sure.
the soul itself. The actual stats you get from it is okay. You get some slow resist and, well, some tenacity rather. It's actually quite valuable, don't get me wrong, but the soul itself doesn't really change the game to the extent which the others do.
Yeah, it's not a game-ending or game-defining, but for now, JDG starting to really get back this. Don't forget, they were about 2,000 gold down. They've brought that back and a bit more. They're going to take this full turret if Scout ends up getting caught out here. There goes the Weaver's Wall. Scout going to get hit by the Ashe arrow as well. No flash. He gets flicked back, and yeah, he knocks back Kanavi, but a heal coming in from missing just mean that he's not able to take back that kill. And I mean, this is starting to feel like LNG. They had a great start, and they just didn't really do a lot with it.
Yeah, there's only room for one ruler in the bot lane, so the Emperor is shoved very ungraciously out towards the death zone. Scout goes down. Ruler gets first turret in the bot side. That's a large injection of cash. He's got himself all of his summoners available. He's got himself the Blade, the Rune King. He is very, very fed now. Need to be very careful. Do LNG. That Ruler can't just free hit and run down with Ghosts, especially with someone like the Ashe helping to continually reapply slows. That's going to be a big issue. Great knockup from Kanavi. Stacks it up on the Gromp. It's a Q3, so he doesn't have to get an extra auto attack in before the knockup is primed. Yagao shuts off the way as well. Scout comprehensively shut down.
Draven sitting on about, I think it's 282 or 52 stacks. A bit far away from me there, but it is enough to get...
I've got you.
262, thank you so much. But yeah, if you're wondering how that's calculated, it's the kill plus 50 gold plus the stacks times 2.5. So let you guys do the maths on that at home. Yeah.
Hang on, sorry, second. 50 plus kill, which will say is 300, plus 2 times... Okay, if someone's dying at the other side. So
Yep.
We don't get that. Could you at least let Draven get the
continue
gold
your
so we can
maths. The
check our
exam
work?
is still on. Continue with your exam. Ignore all distractions.
Oh. Right, 874 gold on the table right now if he doesn't die.
There
So
you
funnily
go.
enough, I actually do have a calculator next to me. I did a lot of time with calculators in my physics degree, and I just learned that, look, mental maths is going to stress me out too much. I'm just always going to have a calculator with me. And I think JDG, they don't need a calculator to tell that. Maybe don't give Draven another kill. That'd be a bit problematic. So they got to play carefully around here as other members. They swarm towards mid lane. They have themselves the Herald. It will kill this mid lane in one shot if they want to drop it. See when exactly they want to place it.
Imagine they might want to keep it in for another minute 40 seconds. Maybe try to use that as a potential point of pressure after the dragon spawns. Yeah, this is Scout getting caught, and then there's not really much else to say. Just dies.
And Flandre takes down his old mid laner, the one which he lifted the World Championship Cup with. Ain't that poetic? We've had a couple of those today. Of course, we had the OMG versus old OMG. It was fun for them with NIP in the first series of the day. And in this one, we've gone the distance between two of our top teams. We assume to be anyway at this point in the season. JDG very much have the advantage right now. I think Kanavi has had an exceptional couple of games on the Shinzo as well. He hasn't picked up a player of the game yet for this series at least. It was missing, he got it in the game before, but the way he's playing in this one, I think he'll be on the shortlist for it. LNG needs to be very, very careful picking fights around this quite fed Shinzo.
Yeah, he's a big lad, and you're still dealing with kind of half items really on the rel. So yes, you have got the rune, excuse me, I can't remember what it's called. What's that? Aftershock, jeez. Could not remember the word of it to try and keep you tanky, but you don't have a lot of innate kind of tankiness to keep you going. WeiWei going full tilt to try and see if he can maybe get somebody. Scout does get caught out by a ward though, so they know he's there. Ruler pops the ghost. A nice little bit of pressure there from Scout, does get a summoner, but outside of that, doesn't really give them anything else.
Some little bit to poke there. WeiWei, you sure you want to be taking that? There's a chance that a Varus ult comes in after that. It isn't going to be the case, so he gets out for free. Missing now out of position, but dodges the fancy feet.
Oh, they stop WeiWei from getting over the wall as well. The Ash Arrow comes in, Gala cleanses. I don't even think he needed to be perfectly honest. He could have just tanked that, it would have been fine. The flick back there onto Zika as he's the tank, and they take out Missing. That's a 1-for-none trade, and Zika is still on the Kazante. Ghost pops, and he is just flying away, running and sprinting off. But look at these health bars. You're not exactly the healthiest team in the world as LNG. You want to get some of these resets in, and that's exactly what they're going for. WeiWei just keeping everyone interested, keeping them a distraction while Zika gets a reset. Oh,
so Ruler still has flash, but he might have to blow it. Scouts.
Oh, he doesn't blow it, and he's waiting. He was waiting for so long, and he wanted to make sure he didn't have it happen a third time. But he ends up getting caught, and now LNG breathes some life back into this mid-game as they get themselves their first dragon.
JDG really gets split up after the initial fight happens. Ruler should never be stood on his own at that point, in that position. I think that was a really big mistake from the other members of JDG to force Ruler into a position where he's isolated on his own. Scout makes the right play in picking him off, doesn't have to blow the flash that time to connect the Emperor's Divide. So LNG, despite the fact that the game was slipping away from them somewhat, managed to get themselves some gold in hand and stop the dragon stacking from JDG. As much as we complain about Chemtech's ult, it's still a Dragon Soul. Scout, he's died a lot in this bot lane. There is a chance that Flandre runs at him again. He doesn't have his ult just available. I think he's trying to count down his ultimate to get the World Ender.
Yeah, it's a good
It's
start.
up now. Scout's in a bit of a weird spot, but he'll be able to fly away.
I was going to say, he should be fine. He's got the shuffle and a flash if he would need it. But let's have a look at the replay here. And again, it's just Missing, almost getting caught out, and then it's just a little bit of an odd situation to be in.
I mean, this is a fantastic set of sidesteps from Missing. Uses the ult, though. And then it's just a bit of an overplay. They don't quite have the timer when the top laners are coming in, and I think Kanavi and Missing kind of missed the memo on when the Cassante will arrive. I think Zika, on the whole, has had a very good couple of games on the Cassante as well. Even in Game 2, he was the bright point from LNG. This player, someone that we've talked about as one of the better top laners in the LPL. But then right here, this is the mistake. The team gets split, Ruler is on his own, has to sidestep the pike hook, which means that he can't quite kind of flee a large enough distance to get out of the range of LNG's follow-up.
And the big thing of that fight was Gala got a cash out. He got himself about 1,000 gold, misses out on two ultimates on his side, now on 2.5 items, got himself a collector, has a last whisper. He's big in this mid game. He will one-shot someone like Missing if he's able to get a spinning axe onto them. So this is scary. This is a very, very scary moment here for the side of JDG where the game could start to snowball against you. You need to just calm down, get everybody back on track, and make sure you're not just losing random kills to a Draven Pike combination.
And that Draven as well, of course, going for the lethality, has a bit of crit chance from the collector built up, and I'd imagine it'll be a Lord Dominus Regards coming in soon after that point. But for those of you that missed this during the offseason as well, lethality no longer kind of gives you increasing value throughout the game. It now just gives you the full value right from the start of the game, which means that it is very, very strong to snowball with. Gala has built himself up a decent amount of lethality now, so if he's hitting anyone that, well, actually anyone, no one's a full tank here on JDG, they're going to take a lot of damage. JDG would very much like this game to not be about the spinning axes. How much can they really deny him from auto-attacking and getting involved in the fights, though? LNG are the ones who have won the Vision War currently towards the bot side of the map. With Baron spawning, they'll have to shift that towards the top side of the map. But that should be a really good point to kind of look at to see how safe does Draven feel he can be while knowing where the enemy members are.
Gold looking about dead even. 2 dragons to 1 in favor of JDG, but 3 grubs apiece. The Kevins and the Eddies fighting against each other now. That's what it can be. It'd be Kevins for one team and Eddies for another. That's how we'll distinguish them. 2 different groups of names, but this is getting tough. You know, this is getting a tough situation for JDG. Your comp is good, but it's very short range, and as you mentioned earlier, no one's really full tank. It's very squishy.
Yeah, it is. You have, well, your tank is, well, no, the Cassante is tanky before he pushes ult. At least he can press his W as well. The Rel is, Rel's a weird one, right? Because typically you're jumping into so many members, you don't often get to function as a tank because you're just shredded by 4 people you jump into if you miss your engage. And if you do hit your engage, they're CC'd, so does it matter if you're as tanky as you could be? That's a question for another time, I suppose. On the other side, really it is just Kanavi's ultimate, the Crescent Guard. That will be the way that you can play around the front line. The arrow's going to be a swing and a miss. Not going to land onto an important target from LNG, as JDG were fighting towards top lane vision priority and top side vision control. Scouts are moving out of top side, and Zuka's moving into the mid lane. We have a fight.
Yeah, we do have a fight. WeiWei going to jump straight in onto Missing. They won't get the Pike ultimate, but now Zika, he brings someone right back in. And that's no jungler. That's no support. You've no way of getting vision onto this. They're going to have to try and find out how to stop this Baron.
Well, I don't know if they can at this point. Flandre's used his ultimate, Ruler has too. LNG still have pike hooks to play around. They can just wait for another cooldown of that. JDG, what can they do?
What can they do? They're getting a lot of damage down, though. They jump straight in on top of Yagao, but he flashes away and keeps himself alive. Flandre is looking good. WeiWei not quite going down. There is the stand aside. And LNG, their health bars are just too low. Piercing arrow will not land its mark, but they will get them off the Baron. The contest had to come in there from JDG, otherwise this game was going to snowball away from them.
Very, very close to a clutch pick on Yagao, but he flashes out of the follow-up CC from WeiWei after the mount-up knockback lands onto him. What this means is, of course, no Baron. It means late resets from LNG as well. Despite the fact that they got a couple of kills, they're going to lose themselves the Dragon. I think they know that at this point. That's why Scout says, look, I can't really contest this right now. Can JDG take the Dragon quick enough before a Baron start comes up? Yes, they can. So it's not going to be a reaction Baron coming in from LNG on a kind of time scale which will force them into a really bad situation. But LNG still, as we said, this is one of the classics of them. They try and give all of these side lane out to turret gold shutdowns to the Azir. They do so. With the arrow missing, looks like we're going to fizzle out for a little while and look for the next player of the game.
Mark just keeping everyone on their toes. I don't know what Kanavi's doing there. Don't need to really be walking forward onto that one. That's a 3-item Draven you are walking into. He's going to try and just heal up off of this camp. So there goes the Streamer's Legacy. And honestly, the wards haven't been replaced here by JDG on the top side. So they are going to be trying to slowly walk into what is effectively going to be dead vision for them. They're going to be pure fog of war, and they're on it.
So there's a blue trinket which has gone over. Flandre's been spotted. He has himself an ult and an Edge of Night, so he's not going to get picked off too easily. The reason why JDG were face-checking that brush is because they really don't have vision here. Look how dark it is. They're trying to clump up and use safety in numbers, but they don't have that much vision onto the Baron. They have another blue trinket just there, but that's all of their map hacks down. They don't have their UAVs anymore. Missing's going to have to wait for his E cooldown.
They're going to look for Kanavi here, but they don't have everyone to follow up onto it. Zika gets jumped on here as the wind becomes lightning, and Kanavi just stands himself strong. He's not scared. He's not afraid to push himself into a good position, even to put himself into a dangerous position, because he knows that he can survive. He knows he can get out with his flash and his ult available. LNG have to deal with that mid lane. They're getting separated off now a little bit. And Zika is a little bit isolated here. He might be forced to use his ultimate if he can, but for the moment he's fine. The Magnet Storm is big, but Kanavi's just acting like a huge wall of wind, just stopping everything from coming forward, and they get rid of WeiWei. Now the shoe is on the other foot. LNG don't have their jungler, and JDG can turn and burn.
That was so close to the clutch engage that WeiWei has been looking for the entire game, but I think a knock-up stopped him getting a clean combo. The Baron is now getting absolutely shredded. There's a teleport coming in, and there are some low HP bars. LNG, they can look for a fight.
They have to look for a fight. They can't go for the Baron after the fact. They'll take out Missing, but can they take out anybody else? The full ultimate comes in. They will get the Talia, and Mark will get out. It's 2-for-1 in favor of LNG. They lose 2 of the Barons off of JDG, but JDG will take that trade.
I mean, at least Scout goes down in return. Not having the Azir on the table gives a bit more freedom to JDG to maybe look towards side lanes and to get their Baron waves in position. They can at least, in the other side of this too, they stop LNG being able to put their feet over the fire in terms of the vision game after this point too, because the Baron's just not up to take. Great Weaver's Wall. Like Asante can't get over the walls without a flash. He's taken the Ghost. He can channel his W, but he has to sit there and take a lot of damage. He can't be the front line the team needs now. And as we just pointed out there too, Ruler isn't caught in the engage because Flandre manages to get a Q onto WeiWei mid-combo. And we are into...
Very famous Ford Mustang driver, so you could call it the Shelby, you know?
That's a good point.
Yeah,
hey, we're back.
I'm not just a pretty face.
Back to the game.
But yes, we are jumping in. The R was used.
So I guess this will be the conversation which they are having, which maybe... So Mark did get a shutdown at some point. He did get a kill in that last fight around the Baron. Now, maybe it was a question about whether there was gold being gained or whether the cooldown was back. We don't have full information about this. This is purely speculation. But given that the Observer just highlighted it, I'm fairly confident it's one of those things.
Possibly, but we can just leave it as is. Bygones be bygones. As we have Baron available for JDG. They will have that for another minute 45.
Yep.
Gold is dead even, 3 dragons to 1, next dragon in a minute 30, so you'll have the Baron until the dragon spawns, but I mean, if you're LNG, you're going to have that Rabadon's death cap up for Scout exceptionally quickly, so you're ready for this fight.
Potentially, but will he have it for the fight itself? He's just cleared through bot camp. If he gets this bot wave, he might get it. See how much gold he's away from it at this point. JDG have not been able to push up waves quickly enough to get all of the control of the map that they would have liked, but they have managed to push up top lane. Mid lane's the one kind of missing right now. If they manage to get mid lane pushed in, it gives them a lot more ability to position around this dragon. And as we were talking about before we went into, you know, seat belts and driver's licenses and stuff like that, vision control's the name of the game, folks, as we get back onto the Rift. And you can see that LNG have done a very good job of very quickly sweeping through what they can with the Umbral Glaive on the pike to make sure that they can get as much information and deny as much information from JDG as possible.
TP coming in now, 30 seconds till dragon spawn. That is going to be Scout. Good hook down, and they're going to try and burst out Kanavi. Both ultimates used by the junglers. Ash Arrow does land immediately into Zonya's. And WeiWei, though, taking a lot of punishment, and Scout will go down. JDG, they found their mark with the arrow, and they were able to get him down.
Wards be damned. If you have the information, it's a great platform to build off of, but you still have to make the correct initiating decisions, which LNG just don't do. They go into Kanavi, who has ult. That was realistically not going to be a kill. It's a very tanky Shinzao. He's got the Sundered Sky for the healing. He has the Frozen Heart and the Kainic Rooker. I have no idea where they decide to throw everything onto him. Watch this again. The hook lands. This is good. If you can get the ult for free, this is fine. Committing that ult from WeiWei, that's the mistake. And then after the arrow lands, the fight is completely over. You don't have the initiation and the backline access. JDG have won this fight, and probably at this point, won the series with a big enough power play like that.
I mean, it got them the Chem Soul, which is fantastic for someone like the Aatrox and the Xin Zhao, like you said. So, yes, it's not exceptional for the carries in terms of changing the game, but getting the kill onto the Aatrox becomes that bit harder. Getting the kill onto the Xin Zhao, like you just tried, becomes that bit harder. These are the small little differences that can make or break a game, and now JDG, they've gone from dead evens to taking the lead again, and they are looking to build up some more momentum. They're looking to keep LNG back on the back foot, constantly putting them back into their base and making sure they can't get any kind of opportunistic pick.
And you can see again, LNG, the hard-earned vision which they fought for, all completely gone. There's no objectives to fight for right now, so it means that they don't have to forage too deeply into the jungle, but it's just, again, giving them a harder time looking for the plays, which they actually were making very successfully before this point. It felt like they managed to get themselves into a really good spot before that Baron had gone over. Now we get ourselves a bit of a settled down series again while we wait for the Elder to spawn, for the next Baron to spawn as well. We're getting towards increasingly high a number of items. Gala, almost at his 4th. Ruler, of course, only at 3, so he's going to be a bit far behind, but that's just kind of courtesy of Draven Pike being a good gold generation duo. Across the rest of the board, though, you rightfully called out the death cap coming in for Scout. You cannot allow him to free hit now. He will do enough damage. But that's been the good thing about JDG. They really haven't given Scout the same amount of access to damage as they did in Game 1.
Ash Arrow on such a short cooldown now that I don't mind just throwing it out every now and again. That's going to be the final outer. Taking down on the top side, or even not the outer, but the tier 1 taken down. TP on the backside, right in the alcove. This is some alcove gaming. They know Zika's there. It's going to be an immediate response.
Oh, good wall.
And they might try and just go for something a little bit more. There's going to be Zika popping the Ghost. They pop down the Shurima's Legacy as well. Everyone posturing, everyone trying to find an opportunity to catch out somebody else. But nobody ever really gets too close to danger.
LNG trying to play around their own pockets of strength and numbers. Almost managed to catch out Yagao. As soon as that wall was channeled, though, they realized, okay, not really going to be able to finish that one off. But they do now have strength and numbers on the top side of the map. 30 seconds before the Baron spawns. It's going to be a while till Elder comes up. So it's not like it's going to be a split map in terms of focus beyond that point. And with three grubs apiece, it's not like there's a huge split pushing advantage to one side or the other. With Flandre blowing his TP, he can't really be on bot side to buy them wave pressure there either. JDG, now they get their chance to run it towards the top side of the map and see what they can get for themselves.
This is potentially the final fight. Everyone just waiting for the summoners to come back up. Still no flash on WeiWei. Couldn't be too far away from getting that one back into his inventory, but having the Hex Flash means he's not completely without a summoner. Level 16 hit for Kanavi, that's big for the Crescent Guard. This vision control is now controlled here by JDG. They're going to be able to get the Scuttle and catch out any of these flank wards. It's such a powerful late game buff nowadays. It's just seeing it do so much in terms of controlling the vision.
We're also at the point now where the Pike is struggling to have huge amounts of value. You're looking for a single hook, and as we saw onto Kanavi, it's not really enough to even force out the front line to do that much from JDG. Plus, he is not a very tanky person. He hasn't died this game, but trust me, whenever he finds himself deep into a fight, he won't be there for very long. Red buffs now taken for both sides, of course. Beyond 20 minutes, buffs are global, so you will get them to the entirety of your team, but they no longer transfer over to people that kill you beyond the 20 minutes. Worth noting that the Azir soldiers now apply red buffs. They apply on hits. That might actually be quite impactful in this late game fight for the extra slow and the extra damage. Plenty of things to keep an eye on. These fights have gone either way in this game. One last one to potentially decide it.
There's the Weaver's Wall. They're going to be completely isolated away from this. There's a flash for WeiWei, but he needs to get over the pit. He needs to try and get in on top of this one here. He gets it! That's a steal for WeiWei. Huge moment it here for LNG, but they need to be able to get out with as many buffs as possible. They accept their jungler is dead, and they will walk away from this. Big moment there for WeiWei. He knew what he had to do, and he did it exactly as just perfectly.
Rel is one of the best objective stealers in the game. With the EQ combos, you're doing a massive amount of damage to these giant buffs and giant creatures on the map. Gets the steal and potentially keeps LNG in it. They're not going to be able to wave clear. They don't have one of their biggest pieces of the front line, but this might have just got LNG into a position where if they can survive this initial push without him being alive, they can fight back onto the map.
Thing is though, 10 seconds till he spawns, Elder Dragon and 45. He needs to get out of spawn and immediately rush towards that bot side. We can see their scout trying to put a bit of pressure in the top lane, maybe get a tower or so before the reset. But I mean, Nightmare, this game is so close, on such a knife's edge, and nobody's really getting a huge advantage either way.
Okay, so important thing is WeiWei not having flash now is actually pretty big. They have the Baron buff, but how can they use it? Scout has teleport and he's up towards the top side of the map. So he's got the top priority available for them. They're going to be able to brute force through mid lane as well on this next wave. We're going to go back to see exactly what's happening here. We need to be quick on this one though. The Elder is coming up and it will be so important.
Perfect.
No true fight around this Baron, just the steal. We're back in towards the objective. Again, LNG trying to push up this mid lane wave as much as they possibly can, but now they are walking into JDG vision. How much does that change things?
Yeah, they're going to be spotted out here as well, so they know exactly where everybody is. There is a reset coming in there for Flandre, who can TP back into the fight. Elder Dragon has been started. This could be the final fight. Great TP work to come in. Gala instantly gets the cleanse out of there and knows that he's going to be in a lot of trouble if he gets caught. And he has been. He tries to flash over the wall, but he can't do any more damage. They're trying to see if they can take out Yagao, but he just can't do it. Ruler goes forward with absolute clarity and vigor, knowing that this is the final fight for JDG. They will continue their unbeaten run in series, and they will go to 3-0.
The three-peat champions of the LPL need 3 games to finish off LNG, but they are left waiting once more. The Chillins on the other side of the rift. They have gone 2 years without beating JDG in series. It is 9 in a row for Jingdong Gaming.
They will move themselves right up there alongside the likes of Billy as a team that has yet to lose a series. Really well done there by JDG in the end. One dominant game each, one for LNG, one for JDG, but when it was all down to who could clutch up, it was going to be absolutely massive coming out from Ruler and Yagao as well. Like, I mean, the whole team just had a really good sense of how they wanted to play that game, and unfortunately for LNG, it just felt like nice little hook right at the end there from Flandre to his mid laner, his ex-mid laner, but I mean, great from JDG. Truly great to see them kind of, coming together and keeping themselves composed.